We missed you, Gene.
Yes? See, we've been trying to do it with me, and I keep mixing up the verses. Yeah. So, everybody's got their little piece in the church, and that's yours, Jeannie, for sure. Making sure we get that right.
I think I need a bigger piece.
Okay. Good. Let's get you a bigger piece. All right. Please turn to 1 Peter chapter 5, I'm sorry. 6 and 7 is where we'll start. What I mean by today is going to be a little different. We are in the series, the 6 characteristics of a successful church. We got the first 2. Today was supposed to be number 3. But King and I were running around getting bricks and things for our house and flowers. And as we're doing it, and as the day's going on, and from Wednesday night on, my heart, my mind has not been, it's been unsettled. First we had the coronavirus. Actually, first we had Jeannie and Sandy. And Sandy was really bad sick. And you know, we go to visit Sandy and she's doing better, but then Corona hits and then Jeannie and Sandy went home. And I shouldn't be mentioning names, I'm sorry. Because this is being recorded. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So we had a member and the daughter went home and still sick, and our church member is trying to take care of her daughter and the exhaustion from that and life, and then the corona hit, and we had to close our church for a while, and like I was just telling somebody earlier, we were starting to roll a little bit, and then the brakes. And then we had a church member who lost her mother, and then we have a church member who's in pain and suffering, and we have a couple more that are in pain. Sunday, right after church, one of our church members go home, and their daughter-in-law, they hear about their daughter-in-law dying, and then just this week we had somebody who actually was coming to our church, and we were trying to deal with, they passed away. And so for a little church, that's a lot of going on. And from Wednesday night on, and if you saw Wednesday night's lesson, I just couldn't, you know, sometimes you're in it and you get it. I taught, but it was on my mind. And so to go to the 3rd lesson in the 6 characteristics just didn't seem appropriate. It felt like to me that I needed to tell you my heart, and it seems like our church needed something. I'm writing a booklet. It's called Where is God? And so I'm going to share some of that. It's going to be a little raw. It's me. But I'm hoping that it'll help us all through what we're going through. We're grieving, we're in pain, we're hurting. Yeah, we're rejoicing here, and we got to worship God, and that's great, and that's part of what's good about church. But also what's good about church is sharing. And sharing each other's pain and each other's burdens. And so, Saturday I decided, you know what? We'll forget this. We're gonna share a little bit. So, what I'm going to do is share some verses of the Bible that meant something for me at a certain time in my life. And I've never forgotten these verses because they meant something to me at that moment. My hope is when I share these, maybe they can apply to you what you're going through right now in life. 1 Peter chapter 5. Now this is not one of the verses, but it is where we're going to start. Verse 6 says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time." The realization that God is in control, whether we like it or not. I have a pastor friend, again, he's going to be coming to speak to us in November. He's been my pastor, he's been my boss, he's been my friend. Him and I have known each other for a long time. He always says, if you do not like the universe that God created, go create your own. But until then, you may have to agree to obey what God has right here. It makes sense. It always made sense to me. That God is in control. And my job, by the way, I'm glad whoever picked that song today, Seek Ye First, because that's where we're going to end today. Isn't that weird? This is the last verse that means something to me. God is in control, and He does things, and I don't always know why. But my job is to humble myself, not be filled up with pride, shake my fist, which I have in my life. We'll get to that, maybe, or maybe another story. My job is to humbly submit to His power, His will. It's not always easy, is it? How do you submit to God's will and power when you got a sick baby and they're going to operate on it? It gets tough. Again, this is just coming, okay? So some of it might be delayed a little bit, but I don't know a whole lot, but I know what I know, and what I know is God is real. And how do I know that? Because I've had that sick baby. And you know what? God showed Himself to me. And I know for a fact God is real because I don't know what I would have gone through or how I would have handled that or what I wouldn't know. But God was there. My job, if we didn't get nothing else to this sermon, our job as Christians is to submit, humbly submit to God's will. No matter how difficult it may seem. God knows what He's doing. He has a plan. He has a purpose for everything. Even that sometimes gets difficult. God, what plan or what purpose do you have on this, really? You ever had these conversations with God, or am I the only one? Verse 7, casting all your care upon Him, for He what? Careth for you. God, do you care? Do you care? I remember becoming homeless one time. By the way, in my life, I've lost everything 3 times. Everything. The 3rd time was the easiest, because I've already been through this. I was homeless, living in the back of a Ford Escort station wagon. Thank God it was a station wagon, because I could put blankets out and sleep. I'd have to take showers and things in the bathrooms at gas stations or restaurants. I was homeless. And I remember one night sleeping in the... And you have to move it around, because if you sleep at the same spots, the police find out and they make you move. Or criminals find out and they come in and do whatever criminals do. So you got to move around. I remember one night laying there in that station wagon, and I said, God... And at this moment in time, I was homeless, and it was not my fault, to be honest with you. And sometime I might get even deeper about all that. It was not my fault. So there I am. I'm sleeping in the station wagon, and I'm praying to God. And you know, when you're on your back or you're in trouble, you and God have a lot of good conversations. Sometimes I think, I know He does, He brings things into our life. Because, hey, you haven't been talking to me lately. Let's talk. And so there I am, I'm talking to God, and I say, God, don't you care? Do you see where, God, I've done all this. And I told Him, I went through all the things I've done for Him in this young life that I had. And I've given up so much for you. Don't you care? What does this verse say? Cast all your cares on Him. Why? Because He cares for you. And what I've learned in life, that God does care. He does. no matter how difficult it is, no matter how rough it is, I'm His child. My son texted me at midnight. He just recently lost the contract to his job there in Chicago. And so he's going through some interviews. And he texted me and he said, "Pray for me. The interviews are not going very well." I'm his father. Wow, that just shot a dagger in my heart. Because why? I care. God is my Father. And when I say to Him, "God, look at this. I'm struggling. I'm in pain. I don't understand this," shoots a dagger right into God's heart. Because He cares. And you take all of that and you give it to Him. I remember the story of the disciples. They're out in the boat, and it's storming, and it's rocking, and they're doing all that they can. They're fishermen, so they're used to this. And when fishermen who are used to this are scared, it's bad. And they were scared to death. And there's Jesus in the boat, being like Charlotte there, just laying back. He's asleep, not a care in the world. And they run down to the bottom of the boat and wakes him up and says, "Jesus, don't you care?" And he says what to them? "Oh, ye of little faith." And now, for years, I didn't understand what he was rebuking them about. I thought it was because, the storm. Yeah, God's going to take care of you. It's a storm. Why are you waking up Jesus? Yeah, He cares. He's going to... No, it was the questioning of whether He cared or not. Not because there was a storm. Not doubting whether I can get through this. Do you care? What? You have very shallow faith if you don't believe that God, Jesus, doesn't care. And I remember saying that, "God, do you care? Do you see this? Do you care?" That next morning, I went into, I can't remember if it was a restaurant or a gas station, but anyhow, I think it was a little gas station, and two men are talking, and they're talking about a trailer court not far from here that'll let you rent trailers for a small deposit. I needed a place to live. I didn't even know about this place. So I drove over there, knock on the door. Who opens the door? A preacher that I have a really good relationship with. I told him my situation. I said, "I have no money really. I don't have it. I don't care. I'll let you have a trailer now." That night I had a place to sleep. I didn't have any electricity, no water, but I had a place to sleep. And it got better after that. God cares. Doesn't mean you won't go through the storms. Doesn't mean there won't be problems. Doesn't mean there won't be troubles. There will be. There will be heartache in life. As long as we're alive, there will be heartache. There will be struggles. There will be good times and there will be bad times. But never doubt whether God cares. He may not always be happy with you. I'm not always happy with my children. But it does not mean I do not care. Never doubt. And that verse means so much to me after saying that prayer. And then later on, a preacher was preaching one day and he brought that verse and I said, I asked God the same thing. And all of a sudden, God became so real to me. Oh yeah, I was a Christian already. And yeah, I believed in Him. But all of a sudden, it was real. Because He cares. Another verse that means something to me in my life in a particular time is Psalm 121. We're going to have to do the old-fashioned way and turn pages. Psalm 121. Let me read it and then I'll tell you the story. Psalm 121. Well, let me tell you the story and then I'll get the story. So, I'm in a Christian school now, and I'm memorizing verses. For a long time, for all the schools in Indiana, I held the record for the most memory verses memorized in a year. And I was going through the Psalms. But also was going through something in my life. I'm 18, so I did what a lot of 18-year-olds did. I go to church, and I was super Christian. Matter of fact, everybody thought I was super Christian. I'm going to Bible college. That's my goal. I was 17, 18. I can't remember. It was my junior year of I was 18. I was senior. And so, when I go to church or I'd be around my church friends, I was one thing. I'd go to work and be around those people, I was something else. The Bible talks about, can there be salt water and bitter water and fresh water at the same time? Not at the same time, but you can have both. You can't do them both at the same time. There is no fellowship with darkness and light. Either you're light or you're darkness. You can't be both. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And so the struggle inside of my soul, my heart, who I was strong. Because here I am, I'm memorizing Bible verses and it's getting inside of me. And I'm at the Christian school, and I'm the good Christian, and I'm at church, I'm the good Christian. In youth group, I was the leader. But I go with these other guys. I got invited to a party, and I went to it. And the first time in my life, somebody hands me marijuana. I had to make a decision. I was putting myself in positions and places I shouldn't be. And the struggle in my soul. And that night, when I went to bed, I just prayed to God and I said, God, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand who I am anymore. Schizophrenic Christians just don't know who I am. And I need help. And I remember saying it 3 or 4 times, I just need help. That morning I got up like I did every morning, got up early. I get up at 6 o'clock. I should have been a farmer. I just normally wake up. I got up at 6 o'clock and I memorized my memory verses for that day. And it just so happened, my memory verse for that day was Psalm 121. And how does it start out? I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. And I began to cry. Isn't it weird, or isn't it amazing, when you need a verse, God always provides it? At a moment in your life when you really need something, and you open your Bible, I almost guarantee you could just randomly open it up, because God knows you need it. Matter of fact, I got a story about that soon, in the end. And I'm reading it, and I said, God, I needed help, and here it is. My help cometh from who? The Lord, which made heaven and earth. The Creator God. The most powerful being in the universe is my help. That verse became such an important verse to me that when I graduated from high school, one of my classmates did a work, those old wood burning things. She did the entire Psalm 121 for me and gave it to me. That's what I became to know. My help comes from the Lord. I cannot tell you, people, how many times I've gone back to this psalm. God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have any answers. And I'll go back and read Psalm 121. I don't have to have all the answers, do I? I just don't. Sometimes it drives people crazy. Mike, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do? I don't know. But I know somebody who does. My job is to submit to His will, be humble, and pray. Because He's going to help me. I need help. You ever been there? At this moment in time, I'm too tired. I'm too weak. I've got too much on me. Lord, I need help. He is my help. Whenever you get in that situation, I want you to remember Psalm 121. My help cometh from the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth. Wow, I couldn't ask for any more help. Remember the verse, with men this is impossible, but with God, what? All things are possible. I can have faith of a grain of a mustard seed and say, mountain, move. And guess what? It moves. Not because of who I am, but because of who I've submitted to and realize who's my help. It has nothing to do with me. Matter of fact, if I try to move mountains on my own, the mountain will probably move and land on me. I needed that verse at that moment in time, and it has never left me. And there have been rough times in my life, but that verse has gotten me through. Isn't it funny how certain verses, too, can just have so much meaning to you? When you go through everybody, and we'll ask, you can ask, and you say, what verse means? And it'll be completely different than mine. But God knows what we need. He's my help. And so, He cares for me, and I've never forgotten that. I've tried to never forget. God does care. Never try to forget that God is there to what? Help. He cares for me and He wants to help. All I need to do is submit to Him. God, I don't understand why this is happening. I don't understand why I have to go through this, and that's fine. Have those conversations with God. Be raw with Him. Tell Him. But in the end, just like Jesus, before He went to the cross, not my will, but Thy will be done. I'll submit to it, Lord. Help me, because I know You care. The next one is Job 13. Job 13. This one I'm hesitant to tell. It's not the most pleasant story, but I want to share. Job 13. By the way, all this will be in my book, the little booklet, Where is God? Job 13, verses 19 through 21. Job 13. Now, we all know the story about Job. The devil wanted to touch Job, and through a series of events, Job lost everything. He lost everything. He lost his houses, he lost his cattle, he lost his riches, he lost his children. Lost everything. Eventually, he even lost his health. He was boils. I've had one boil in my life, and it was the worst thing ever. And you know, men, we're big crybabies. I thought I was going to die on this one little boil. Imagine a man from head to toe with boils. The misery he was in. The pain. Job, chapter 13, again, a verse that God brought to me when I needed it. I'll tell you the story and then I'll read it. I was going through something really, I felt horrible in my life. Sometimes when I look back and I see what other people go through, I'm like, why were you so low there? I hit a really low point in my life. And I remember one weekend, I lay in my bed. And that's what you do when you're depressed. You don't want to answer the door, you don't want to answer the phone, you don't want to talk to anybody, you just want to be alone. I'm laying there and I thought to myself, if I were to kill myself right now, how long would it take for somebody to find the body? This is the thinking in my head. How long would it take? And I figured out it would probably be about 3 days, because after 3 days I think my dad would probably think, hey, where's Mike been? And come and find me. This is where I was in my life. Job was going through tremendous loss, tremendous pain and suffering. And if you study Job, he even wanted to die. And in that moment in time, my pain and my emotion was lost, and it was also mostly emotional. My health was fine. I wasn't in pain that way. But I was in pain. And I was reading through the book of Job. By the way, if you're depressed, don't read the book of Job. That's not. And don't listen to country music. I would go to work and they're playing country music, and it just made me more depressed. This guy was talking about how, I still remember the song that got me the most. He drove by his house, and that wasn't his truck in the driveway, and that wasn't his dog, and what? And I'm like, stop it! And I'm reading through the book of Job, and I'm depressed. But thank God I was reading through the book of Job, because I got to this point. And I remember shouting to God. Verse 19. Who is it that will plead with me? For now I have hold my tongue. I shall give up the ghost. Again, he's talking about dying. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut, and I just want to die. I'm done talking. Nobody can plead my case. Nobody understands. When I read this, I said, that's me. Nobody really understands what I'm going through. They think they do, but they don't. People meant well, but they had no understanding. And I just want to die. So I'll keep my mouth shut and die. Verse 20. But Job's, and I remember crying when I read this. He says to God, he goes, basically, I got a deal for you though, God. He says, only do not do two things unto me. Don't do these two things. Please, God. Then I will hide myself from thee. And I will not hide myself. I won't disappear from you. I'll stay. God, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to do this. It's hard. It's too hard. I said that. All I want is my life back. And that's what Job wanted, was his life. I don't know how many times I said that. This is too hard. I just want my life back. It's too hard. And it's so hard, I just want to die. And Job says, God, I won't give up if you can not do these two things. You think my interest was up? What are these two things? What would keep you from not giving up, Job? Well, let's read. What would keep you from not giving up? Withdraw thy hand far from me, and let not the dread make me afraid. God, don't withdraw your hand. Stay here. Let your hand stay with me. Don't let it go. Don't withdraw it. And don't let this kill me. Basically is what he's saying. What I said at the time was crush me. God, if you promised to stick... Wait a minute, didn't he already? See how our minds get? My mind was so low, and my mind was so focused on me, my mind was, that I believed God was so far away. And he was not. Because he promised what? Never leave me, never forsake me. Any pain, any trouble I'm going through, he promised to be there with me. But we can get to a point where like, where are you? God, where are you? Hello? Where are you? It says, don't withdraw your hand from me. And what I always say, don't let this crush me. Don't let this destroy me. And so I've learned that whenever I go through, that's why I said the third time I lost everything, and okay, God, I know this. My prayer is don't let this change who I am. Don't let this crush me. Every problem that you have in life can do one or two things. You can allow it to build you and make you better, a better Christian, a better person. Or you can let it destroy you. Guess whose choice that is? It's yours. Yours. And I've learned and I've tried to do this, to learn, okay, God, this is going to make me stronger. This is going to make me better. I don't see how. I don't understand. I don't know why. But I submit to you your will. Because I know you care about me. And I know that if I allow this, this is going to make me better in some way. And every time I do that, in the end, my life is better than what I thought it ever was. I never want that old life back. You know, the one I kept crying for and one? I don't know. If somebody tried to offer me that life again, I said, no, get that out of here. I love the one I got now. Job, in those verses, means so much to me. And things will come in my life, and they still do. I'm still alive. I still have troubles. I still have... And I say, God, don't be far away from me. I pray this. Don't be far away from me. Don't let this crush me. Don't let this destroy me. And you know what? Never has. Never has. Doesn't mean that I don't have some scars. Doesn't mean I don't look back and I have some memories that still hurt. But guess what? It's never destroyed. Because the God that created everything, He's my help. There have been times I needed Him. And I prayed and I said, God, these people are trying to do this and that. I said, can you take care of that? Because I can't. And all of a sudden, who are they fighting? Are they fighting against me? They're fighting against the creator of the universe. Good luck with that. Good luck. I'm out. I gave it to him. And somebody said, what are you going to do about so-and-so? I already took care of that. I gave it to God. Let them... They think they're hurting me. Yeah, good luck. You're hurting God. Then the last one, and we'll be done, is Matthew 6:33. This verse meant so much to me at one time, I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Living by the Rule. Matthew 6:33. This is about the same time period when I was going through the lowest point of my life. In the first parts of this verse, it talks about not to worry about what you're going to eat, or where you're going to sleep, or what clothes you're going to... Don't worry about all that. Well, that's difficult to tell to somebody when they don't have anything. If you don't know where your next meal is coming from, and you tell somebody, God says don't worry about where you're going to eat, what you're going to eat. Well, thank you very much. And God says, don't worry about all that. I remember having a Bible study, and I'm studying the Bible, and I'm teaching people, and I need to teach something, and I'm struggling with God. God and I are struggling. It happens. By the way, God is always right, and you're always wrong when you're having a struggle, okay? Just remember that. And that makes that struggle end a lot quicker if you can try to remember that. He's always right, you're always wrong. But we're struggling, God and I are struggling. And I remember I was at my desk and the Bible was open. And I pounded my fist down and I said, God, I need an answer and I need it now. I pounded my fist and the pages moved open. You know, it sounds weird. You know where it was? Matthew chapter 6. And the first verse I read was what? But seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Stop worrying about all this stuff, Michael. Why do you keep worrying? Why do you keep fighting all of this? Why are you struggling with this? Don't I care? Haven't I showed you I care? Haven't I showed you I've helped you from time and after time? Didn't I tell you? Why are you struggling? Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. You know what I learned that day? And this verse means so much to me. No matter what happens to me, my job is to be faithful to God. I'm ravished financially. I still pay my tithes. Now sometimes 10% of zero is what? Zero. I mean this. I taught this verse one time, and a friend came to me, and he said he didn't want a lot of people to know, but if he has nothing, he'll scrape up change and just give it anyhow. I've seen him put in just $1. Remain faithful when I'm in pain and I'm hurting. I go help those that are in pain and hurting because I stay faithful to God. God promises me if I stay faithful to Him and His kingdom, what? All my needs will be taken care of. I remember one time I needed food. I needed it. I had zero. And then all of a sudden, this girl in my church came to me and she said, they gave me too many food stamps. Do you want to use some? She goes, now I have to go with you and spend it, but yeah! And you know what I bought? Because I didn't know what was coming in. I bought a lot of raviolis and SpaghettiOs, and for a month, that's what I ate. Raviolis and SpaghettiOs and beefaroni for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I still love them to this day, but listen, did I go hungry? No. Stay faithful. And the bottom line, that's all that matters. Staying faithful to God. And I've had people tell me who know me, and they know me from beginning to end. They said, I don't know why you're still happy. I don't know why you... And it's not me, trust me, I'm not bragging on me. But the only answer I could ever give them is, I just stay faithful. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. No matter what, I try my best to keep seeking the kingdom of God. And so, yes, there will be pain, and there will be suffering, and there will be heartache. Welcome to human life. But God cares. God is my helper. God is my refuge and my strength. Psalm 46 says.
Amen.
What is my job? Submit to His will and stay faithful. And everything I need will be added to me. Joy will come back. You will be happy again. You will have food. You will have clothing. You will have a place to sleep. Just stay faithful. God, don't be far from me. Don't let this crush me. In doing so, I'm going to stay faithful to you. I'm not sure if any of this is what people needed, but this was on my heart and mind after what we've been through. I want us to remember, individually, stay faithful. Our church, no matter what we're going through, we just seek the kingdom of God and stay faithful.
Amen.
And all these things will be added unto us. God cares for our church. He loves our church. He's there to help our church. All we do is submit to His will. And God, don't be far from our church. Don't let this destroy our church. And we'll remain faithful. We're not going to have an invitation. I want us to have a moment of prayer. We've got a lot going on. You know who we need to get a hold of? We need God. I'm going to ask Charlotte and Kay, and then I'll close, we just pray for the members of our church, and there's so much, and there's things that people are going through right now we don't even know about, because not everybody shares everything. And I want us to have a moment of prayer where we pray for the members of our church, we pray for our church, and there are people hurting in our church. And there are people in our church who need strength, and they need comfort, and we need it from God. And that's what I want our prayers to be. So I'm going to ask Charlotte to start, and Kay, and then I'll close. Thank you.
Father in heaven, Lord, thank you for the message today from Michael. And Lord, I do lift up each